Red Sonja starts to feel the pull of the Wild Hunt, while Kulan Gath starts to drive the Emberfall army crazy. It's a lot of stuff going on, and we're going to talk about it right here in our review of Red Sonja, Volume 7, Number 9 from Dynamite Comics. See you in 3. And welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of Red Sonja, Volume 7, Number 9 from Dynamite Comics. This issue finds Red Sonja drawn to the siren song of the Wild Hunt, created by the gods, while Emberfall's army foolishly attacks Kulan Gath. But before we get started, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. Your attention is greatly appreciated, and make sure you stay tuned to the end for the final score. Let's talk about the credits. Red Sonja Volume 7, Number 9 is written by Torrin Grønbekk, art by Walter Giovanni, colors by Omi Ramalante Jr., and letters by Jeff Eckelberry. The main cover, cover A, is drawn by Lucio Perillo. Previously in issue number 8, Red Sonja had her hands full when she and Grace were on the run from supernatural monsters and demons, from the underworld and from Limbo, and from the haunted woods surrounding the kingdom, sent by Kulan Gath to track her down, because Red Sonja is the only one who has potentially the power to stop him. Now in issue number 8, we catch up with a demon lord by the name of Erlich, who is soulless in every sense of the word. He's now been released into the mortal lands, and he's looking for his soul, which it turns out to be a new mission that is added to the overall arc of the story. Meanwhile, Grace and Red Sonja are running from their lives from all the demons and the spirits and the ghouls and the specters that Kulan Gath has sicked on them to try and bring them down. At the same time, several of the gods who have been released from Limbo have initiated what they call the Wild Hunt, which is a sort of supernatural, mystical calling of all the creatures that are warriors, and they are trying to bring them all together to try and hunt down humans and beasts and anything that gets in their way. It's sort of a force of nature, if you will. And Sonja, being a master warrior, also feels the pull of the Wild Hunt, as she's at the same time fleeing from these monsters and trying to protect the normal citizens of the kingdom, and as well as Grace, who is with her, before they get cut down and run over by this stampede of supernatural forces. Now we shift gears to the kingdom of Emberfall. The queen is looking for help because she realizes Kulan Gath is gaining power, and she doesn't know what to do about it, so she seeks out the council of fortune tellers and wizards and mediums, and all of them basically say the same thing, that Kulan Gath is not beatable. You can't send your army against him. There's nothing you can really do, but our hope is in one woman who is moving throughout the kingdom, and she alone has the power to stop Kulan Gath. The queen still is reticent that she couldn't just stand by and do nothing, so she sends her army out to confront Kulan Gath. Kulan Gath, of course, is expecting to be attacked by an army. There's nothing he hasn't foreseen or foretold in some capacity. So he gets his men to bring him one of the scouts from Emberfall's army, and he kills him to initiate a blood ritual that creates this mist. The mist goes out as the Emberfall army approaches Kulan Gath's citadel. The mist drives the army mad, and they start attacking each other and killing each other. So instead of Kulan Gath sending out some kind of formidable force to stop the army that's trying to attack him, he gets the army to kill itself effectively. At the same time, Red Sonja arrives at Kulan Gath's citadel. She sees what's happening. She tells Grace, stay out of the mist. Don't let it touch you, because it's going to drive you crazy, and everybody's going to start killing each other. But the crazed soldiers see Red Sonja and Grace, and they start attacking them as well as each other. And we end on a cliffhanger where Grace gets speared right through the chest with a large arrow. Just an interesting side note, if you want to know who this Grace character is, she is based on a real life person. The character of Grace is drawn to look like and homage directly from Gracie the Cosplay Lass, who is possibly the most well recognized and the most pristine, perfect example of a Red Sonja cosplayer you could possibly imagine on the face of the planet. So if you want to catch up with Gracie, please check her out on all her socials at Gracie the Cosplay Lass, and I'm sure she would love to hear your compliments and appreciation. What do we like about Red Sonja Volume 9 from Dynamite Comics? Lots of action. This is a very action heavy issue, and some of it is violent and bloody and gruesome. You see heads coming off, you see skulls split, you see limbs flying, and you have basically an eclectic army of all kinds of supernatural beings chasing after Red Sonja. Likewise, Kulan Gath's mist spell that drives the Emberfall army crazy and out of their minds gets pretty wicked, pretty violent. It definitely elevates Kulan Gath as a unstoppable force. I mean, if you got somebody who can send out a mist that decimates an entire army with him barely lifting a finger, you know you're in trouble. And so that's a pretty tough enemy to come up against, especially for Red Sonja, who, even though is fantastic, is really just one person with a sword. So how she's going to overcome this, we don't know. At the same time, the cliffhanger is very strong. Grace has been a companion for Red Sonja for several issues now, and for her to get she's still an average mortal. So for her to get an arrow right through the chest is a pretty that's a pretty strong cliffhanger to end on for both Red Sonja, for Grace, and for the narrative going forward as a whole. So from an action standpoint, if you like sword and sandal and sorcery type of action, this was a pretty solid issue. What didn't we like about Red Sonja, Volume 7, Number 9? The introduction of Ehrlich seems like it could be interesting, but he sort of comes out of nowhere. And I think this is Torun Grombeck's attempt to sort of establish a monster of the month type of model, or an enemy of the month type of model, but it's all blending together, and there's no clear start and finish because it's happening at the same time. These demons and supernatural creatures are chasing Grace at the same time. The Wild Hunt is getting started at the same time. Edenfall is attacking Kulan Gath. You have all these things that are all happening at the same time, and you almost don't know where to focus. Obviously, you should be focusing on whatever is happening to Red Sonja at the moment, but she's attached to everything else. So it's not like they're necessarily subplots where there's a B plot and a C plot. It's just everything piling on top of each other all at once. So the storytelling aspects feel disorganized. It feels chaotic, and things are happening. You see actions taking place, and it feels like the story's moving at least forward, but the direction is very unclear. The point of the story is unclear, other than you just have chaos starting to stack up, and that's okay for some people. But for most people who want a story with a clear purpose, you're losing a lot of that. So the story, I won't say it feels directionless, but it feels like it's just chaos happening, and and you don't know where to focus, which makes the reading experience less than ideal. Let's talk about the art for a minute. Walter Giovanni is doing a great job with the character designs, coming up with a wide range of monsters and BCs and all kinds of eclectic supernatural beings that Red Sonja will either eventually face or have already arrived in the countryside and throughout the kingdom to create trouble. So visually, from a design perspective, Giovanni is doing a great job. If I would to offer some point of, how could it be better, there's very much a lack of dramatic shadows and dark presence in the way that the coloring and the blacks and the inks have been presented. Everything feels almost too bright or flatly bright, if that makes sense. Everything is well lit. Everything is sort of evenly lit, and so you never really get a sense that anybody's in shadow, or that there's a darkness looming, or there's no sense of mood. It's all a lot of brightly lit action, but there's no mood or atmosphere to accompany it. So that's a little bit lacking from the art perspective. But generally speaking, it's good art. Final thoughts on Red Sonja Volume 7, Number 9 from Dynamite Comics. Lots of great action. You definitely feel the energy, and you definitely feel the consequences of people dying, consequences for demons being unleashed on the earth, and the story feels like it's moving forward. On the downside, the art sort of lacks the mood and tension that you need to really pull off the drama of the scenario, and the story feels chaotic and disorganized. So you feel things are moving, but you're not quite clear where it's moving or why. Therefore, we're going to give Red Sonja Volume 7, Number 9 from Dynamite Comics a solid 7 out of 10. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Do you like Red Sonja? Do you like this run of Red Sonja? Do you prefer a different artist, different writer, or do you like this just the way it is? Let us know in the comment section. And if you like more reviews just like this one, please stay tuned through the outro.